You ever wanted a money printing machine in Path of Exile? You don't know how to get currency? Then Expedition is definitely an answer to you, and probably if you ever looked at any guides for currency making for Path of Exile, especially without any investment and stuff like that, then probably there's a bunch of Expedition videos already about this thing, but I'm gonna make one anyways. So Expedition is one of the easiest ways for you to really make tons of currency without any investment, without any scarabs and stuff like that, no Atlas specific sextants. It just works. It works. It gives you a bunch of currency in many ways, and it can give you pretty good items as well if you're playing SSF or HCSSF and stuff like that. So basically, why Expedition works pretty well. You have your potential good drops that sell for a bunch of currency. You have your league specific currency that gives you good raw standard currency that you can then sell, and it has a potential for you to play with crafting items that you can then sell for big chunks of currency as well. So it's basically you're protected against any unluck and stuff like that. So it's not like you're farming divination cards and you may have return on your investments, or you may not have it, especially in short spans. With Expedition, it's not like that. Every 1 to 2 to maybe 3 maps, you will have this thing here, which is called Expedition Logbook, that will grant you constant success in getting currency in big amounts. So yeah, let's talk about the Expedition, how it works, why it's so good, and why you are pretty unknowledgeable for not using it, especially if you don't want to use too many scarabs and different other types of things that multiply different rewards that you can get from running your maps and stuff like that. So basically, Expedition itself is that you have this place, then you're placing explosions explode, you're getting a bunch of monsters, you kill them, you get their rewards, you're getting some currency specific things for the Expedition vendors, then you can get one of these things. But it comes in Expedition Logbooks. So yeah, basically you are getting your regular rewards from monsters that are spawning. You can get some artifacts, so that's a league specific currency, and then you can get logbooks. And logbooks are dropping pretty they are constantly dropping. It's not like every single map, but you definitely feel it. Every 3 to 5 maps you will have at least one popping if you are spec'd into Expedition on your talent tree, and there's not too many points that you need to spec into Expedition, which is a very big pro for this mechanic as well. So basically, Expedition Logbook is a big map with Expedition mechanics. So that's like a whole location where you have a bunch of explosives to place, and you can get pretty big rewards out of that too. And now it comes to our so how really are we making our currency back? So basically, if you are spec'd at least into what you need in your Atlas tree, you need chance to contain an Expedition encounter, and because there can't be more than one Expedition encounter on your map, you really need just a specific amount of these, and after there's one to be after you have a chance for one to spawn, you don't really need scarabs for it to spawn, or you don't need scarabs to spawn an additional one like it's with legions and stuff. It can spawn only once per map, so higher investment on this mechanic is not really, it doesn't really give you that much of a thing. There are scarabs that make expeditions more worthwhile, especially higher tier ones, but they are not as good as other mechanics. So basically, with just investment of talent points, you are very good to go, and you will get all the core rewards out of the mechanic on a pretty pretty high level. So basically you're taking this chance here, then you're going for explosive radius, number of explosives and remnants, having your expeditionary maps having additional remnants, stuff like that. So basically one big circle, one a smaller circle on the chance of spawning the mechanic. Then you are ignoring this completely useless thing, expedition monsters in your map spawn with additional life missing, and expedition detonation chains in your map travel slower. So this is all useless because it's only for kind of weaker builds. It's whenever you're starting your maps, you don't have any rewards out of this talent, so it's already less talents for you to get. Then you are getting your expeditions in your map have increased chance to be led by Tujen and Danig, or you can get only one of them, Tujen specifically. So Tujen is your vendor that gives you rewards in raw currency, and this is the easiest way for you to get everything. So you're gonna farm your maps, even if, for example, you're not dropping any logbooks. Let's delete logbooks from the equation here. You're just running expeditions. And yeah, there's expedition. You're getting some of the artifacts of the expedition from your map. If you have this talent, most of your expeditions are going to be for Tujen. And then you're spending those artifacts to reroll Tujen's inventory and to get good stuff out of there. So there can be a multiple like essences, just currency, catalysts, stuff like that. It's just everything that you can very easily trade. It's all trading in bulk and stuff. There can be divines as well with pretty low chance. But anyways, Tujen is just you staying in your hideout and getting raw currency after you've played some maps. That's it. That's as simple as it gets. Then Danig, he just gives you currency that can be traded for any other ones, and you can buy logbooks out of him. It's more of a questionable thing because logbooks are not spawning as frequent with Danig, as you can get some good currency with Tujen. But again, you can play with it. It's only 3 points investment. You can play with it, test it for yourself. If you don't really think that you're getting any benefits out of it, you can just spec out of it. And then there's ROG as well. ROG is the crafting bench NPC basically. So he has a bunch of items that you can craft, and if you are good at understanding what mods people need on their items and what items are most likely are going to be rare ones, so that you can sell them, and yeah, you know how to craft, then ROG can print you currency as well. But again, it's an optional thing that is only 1 talent point investment, and you don't really need it to. You can just play with Tujen and be more than fine. Yeah, then you're going for this last part, which is one of the most essential ones. So buried knowledge, increased quantity of expedition logbooks dropped by runic monsters. So your maps contain increased number of runic monsters, and there's a bit of just additional stuff for. So basically here we have increases to our logbook quantity drops, which is, yeah, it's one of the main currency generator in both ways of how you're gonna utilize the logbooks themselves. So basically now let's talk about what are you gonna do with your logbooks? So with vendors, it's quite obvious. You're just having some amount of your artifacts. You have some amount of reroll currency. If you can, you reroll your Tujen. You're looking for good value currency. You're buying it out of him, and then you're selling it for chaos and divines. And then with ROG, you're crafting. It's a bit harder. We're not talking about it here, but you can have this ability. Now, when it comes to logbooks. So basically, logbooks are dropping on a pretty stable rate. It's closer to every 2 to 3 locations. If you are pretty unlucky, then every 2 to 3 maps you are gonna have logbook dropped. But most of the times, it's like every single 2 maps that you're getting a logbook, depending on what logbook has on it. So it can be the expedition that you can get from logbooks, the complete map. You have different types of them. They are all dedicated to each and single NPC. So Gwennen, Rog, Tujen, and Danig. These are the types of expeditions that you can get on your logbooks, and there's multiple of them. So basically, you have to remember prices for expeditions for each one of them. Gwennen are almost always are useless. Nobody needs Gwennen artifacts. Then Rogue they don't really have their price too good as well. And then there's Danig ones, and then there's Tujen ones. And the Danig ones, if I recall correctly, they are the most pricey, and the Tujen ones are just medium. And that's something they're selling on a rate. It's not constant as much, but it's something closer to 25, 30, 35, 40 chaos, depending on the state of the economy and stuff like that. But it's a pretty high amount of raw chaoses that you're getting almost every single map without any investment. And you don't need to be that lucky, because there's multiple expedition types that are present on each logbook, and there's almost always either Tujen one or Danig one. It's not like they're all gonna be perfect. There are gonna be some that have Gwennen and Rog, and you're like, yeah, so that's like 8 or 10 chaos. But these are like more rare, rather than you having Rog and, for example, Tujen or Gwennen and have Danig on them, so that you will just sell it by the price of the highest one, because people who are gonna buy it, they are gonna buy it for the probably for the expedition of a good vendor NPC rather than the bad. So, and that's if you wanted to sell expedition logbooks. So if you are just running your maps, you're farming your map, that you don't really need to think about the layout of the map, as it's the case with Legion and stuff, because expeditions are not that big. They don't really require for you to have this wide areas that can be filled with a bunch of monsters, because they are quite densely packed. And that's not a problem. So you can pick whatever the map you're liking, and Expedition will work on that. Basically, then you have your logbooks. They are dropping. You're constantly getting this chaos influx towards you. But there's one catch: you can get even more if you're running your logbooks by yourself. So it's not constant. You can make some experiments with it. So you can check what's better for you if you are running your logbooks by yourself, and then you're re-rolling currency at Tujen and you're getting some out of that. And you can just roughly evaluate if you like running if you like running your logbooks or you like selling them. But running logbooks is even better than selling them, especially if you're running the good ones, the Tujen or the Danig. It depends, but most likely it's gonna be both of them are pretty good, and they cost way less than what you're getting out of them. So basically, if you were to sell your logbook, you will have a bunch of chaos, and then you will save yourself time of running that logbook to run the new map and to get new logbooks to sell them. So that's the case with that. But whenever you're running your logbooks, you're really getting a bunch of raw stuff out of the logbook itself. So it's not the artifacts that you're gonna be using afterwards with your NPCs. It's straight up potential good uniques, raw currency, catalysts, delirium stuff, many different rewards that you can get from your logbooks. And then it's artifacts on top of that. And if you're really efficient with how your build is going, and you're not really afraid of blocking mechanics on mobs and stuff like that, then running logbooks is a better idea. But if you just want to run your maps, you don't really want to place all the explosives on the logbooks, you feel it's tedious, then anyways, Expedition will be a very good and efficient way for you to farm a bunch of currency on the start of the league, without any investment really. if it's not going to be nerfed in 3.22. And we are getting a new big talent for us to have just one massive explosive rather than 5 or 4 or 5 or 4 or 6 that we are having with current expedition, and there's some additional things to that big talent, but we don't really know what's happening with the rewards of logbooks and rewards of vendors, and we don't really know if the expedition itself is gonna get nerfed, but we know that there's a talent for you to feel the expedition better if you're not really if you don't really like placing a bunch of explosives on your map. So yeah, that's it with expedition. It's a very, very solid strategy, and yes, I forgot about it for a little bit. The good position of expedition is quite obvious because there's Legion quite near, and you can spec in both of them. You don't really spend too much points in expedition. So for example, Legion requires you way more points in different parts of the map to be applied to get results out of it, just like a breach as well. But anyways, you can combine harvest and you can combine a Legion with your expedition, and Legion is just by itself, it's a pretty fast mechanic if you have good AoE clear. It can give you this emblems were pretty cheap for the most part in the last league, but it can still give you raw currency. Some incubators can sell as well. So yeah, you have your Legion encounters that can be quite lucrative, and you can spec into it pretty easily. You have harvest that gives you that can give you this additional flat amounts of currency as well, and just expedition being on the right side of the Atlas tree and not on the more of a dead left side of the Atlas talent tree is a very, very good thing, because there's a bunch of things that you can just combine with it. And as well, you can use stream of consciousness with expedition, because you don't really need to use scarabs for expedition specifically, but you'll probably want to use some maybe other scarabs that are not dedicated to expedition. So stream of consciousness is for the it's for some strats that are not using any fragments at all. I'm not saying that you should use it, I'm just saying that it's quite easy to spec into it because it's so close. So yeah, expedition is a win-win mechanic for any mode of the game, because you can play it quite efficiently in SSF as well, and you will have the best crafting options available for just regular rare items that you need to cover your resistances, or maybe you need good weapon, good just high phase DPS or elemental DPS weapon. It will be very, very efficient to use it too with Rogue. So yeah, that's it. That's it. If you want more content like this, then definitely subscribe to the video, because there's going to be much more things like this. I hope you're having a fun, and let's hope that Expedition is not nerfed. Or if you hate Expedition, let's hope that it's nerfed and something else gets the buffs, so that the other mechanic is going to be similar on par with Expedition in terms of its rewards. So yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.